Hello, today we're looking at examples of complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles. And particularly using equations and algebraic reasoning in order to find missing variables hidden within them. So for our first example for complementary angles, we're told that angle ABC and angle CBD are complementary. Find x. So looking at my diagram here, angle ABC is here. They're telling me the measure of angle ABC is 2x, and then CBD is here, and the measure of CBD is 4x plus 20, and we're told to find x. So looks kind of confusing, but if we're told we're complementary, we have everything we need. We can see that from the picture too. We have this right angle. So complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So that means when I take my measure of ABC plus the measure of angle CBD, that's going to give me 90 degrees. Right? That's what it means if they're complementary. Okay, so let's fill in my missing pieces in. The measure of angle ABC is 2x. We don't know what it is, but it's 2x. Plus the measure of CBD is 4x plus 20. And when we add them together, we have to get 90 degrees. So now we just have an equation that we need to solve. Fun. Okay, so we don't need to distribute anything, but looking at it, it does appear I have some like terms that can combine. So I have a 2x and a 4x. Those are like terms. 2x plus 4x is 6x. And then I keep everything else the same. Plus 20 equals 90. Okay, then I have 6x plus 20 equals 90. So I need to solve for x. I'm currently adding 20 to 6x, so I'm going to undo that by subtracting 20. So I rewrite 6x plus 20 equals 90. And then I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides to keep it a balanced equation. 20 minus 20 is 0, so that goes away, and I just get 6x on this side. On the right-hand side, I have 90 minus 20, which is 70. Okay? And then lastly, I have x times 6, so I need to undo multiplying by 6 by dividing by 6. And I do that to both sides of my inequality. I'm going to get 11 2/3. So that's okay. We don't always need to get a whole number. We don't always have to get a pretty number. Sometimes we're going to get fractions, we're going to get decimals. That means that x is 11 2/3. So if I wanted to, the problem doesn't ask for it, I could then figure out what is the measure of ABC by doing 11 2/3 times 2. And I can find the measure of CBD by multiplying 11 2/3 times 4 and then adding 20. But for this problem, that's all I needed to do. So now let's look at an example with supplementary angles. So we have angle STE and angle ETL are supplementary. Find x, and then find the measure of angle STE. Okay, so looking at my diagram here, I have STE, that's 2x degrees, and then ETL is 140 degrees. So since they're supplementary, and since our picture tells us we have a straight line, we know that they need to add up to 180 degrees. So I can write my equation by adding up the measure of STE plus my measure of ETL. That's going to have to equal 180 degrees since they're supplementary. Right? Well, the measure of STE is 2x. The measure of ETL is 140, and that needs to equal 180 degrees. So now we have a two-step equation that we can solve pretty easily. 2x plus 140 equals 180. I rewrite it, and then I'm going to subtract 140 on the left and subtract 140 on the right. On the left-hand side, 140 minus 140 is 0. That goes away, and I get 2x equals 40, which is what 180 divided by 140 is. And then lastly, I have x times 2. How do I undo multiplying by 2? I divide by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2, and I get that x equals 20. Okay, which is what 40 divided by 2 is. So x equals 20. So that's the correct answer to find x, but they also say find the measure of angle STE. So looking back on my picture, STE, that was right here, and they told us that that was 2x, okay, or 2 times x. Well, we just figured out that x is 20. So let's do it here. The measure of STE equals 2x, and x is 20. So we need to multiply 2 times 20, which is 40. So it's going to be 40 degrees. This is 40 degrees. This is 140 degrees. 40 plus 140 is 180, which is exactly what we should have gotten. So we're good. Perfect. Supplementary angles add up to 100 degrees, 180 to my straight angle. And then lastly, we're going to look at one example with vertical angles. Okay, so here we're told just to find x. We can figure out that we have vertical angles because we have 2 intersecting lines. We have 2 intersecting lines. The angles that are across from each other have to be congruent or the same measure, have the same measure. Okay, so when we do that, that means we can set these 2 expressions equal to each other to solve for a missing variable x. So the measure of angle SET needs to be equal to the measure of angle LEI. The measure of SET is 50 degrees. The measure of LEI is 5x plus 10 degrees. So then I'm going to go ahead and solve. 5x plus 10, I want to get x by itself. Doesn't matter that I'm on separate sides of the equation. Doesn't make any difference. I want to get x by itself. So I rewrite what I have, leaving some room. How do I undo adding 10? I subtract 10, so I do that to both sides of my inequality. 50 minus, or equation, 50 minus 10 is 40. And then I just 5x here because 10 minus 10 is 0, so that part goes away. Now I have 5 times x equals 40, so I lastly divide both sides by 5. 5 cancel, and I get that x equals 8. Okay, so then I can check that I'm right. 5 times x, which is 8, so 5 times 8 is 40. 40 plus 10 is 50, which should be correct. 50 degrees needs to equal 50 degrees.